Welcome, 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 everybody. Hope you guys can hear me. I am trying to start our meeting um, on Google Meet. I just jumped out of another meeting. I'm just back to back meetings all the time. So I have I have a few people waiting for me on the Google Meet. So if you want to join, you can go to karaleise.com. There's a pop-up that will tell you about how to join, and then you can join so you can ask your question over there. Okay. All right. So welcome everybody. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Put my jacket on. It's not that cold in here, but I did have this beautiful jacket, so I might as well wear it. I you guys can hear me. Welcome, welcome, welcome everybody. Can you hear me now? Yes. Oh my goodness, I've been in a meeting since I don't know, maybe like seven to eight, 8 to 9, 9 to 10, 10 to 11, 11 to 12, and then at 12 it's like, okay, let's go. I gotta go. I gotta go. So sorry to have you all waiting. I am also on the live. I don't know if the people on the live can hear me, so I'm gonna ask Joshua to check the live. I should be live on LinkedIn and on YouTube the way we normally do. So let me know if you guys can hear anything. We're going to do this the way we've been doing, which is we have the meeting going on Google Meet. So if you want to participate, you want to ask a question, you can go to karaleise.com. There'll be a pop-up. You follow the pop-up. I think we just take your email address and you can get the connection to the meeting, and you can always join and ask the questions. I'm not like your regular YouTuber. I love to talk to people. I don't like coming on here and just talking to myself. I want the interaction. I want to hear what you guys think. I want to help you with your individual problems and questions about the BA role. So this is our October version of the Global BA Stand-Up. If you guys have never joined before, welcome, welcome, welcome. I love, love, love to help you to start your career, to grow your career, to answer questions about the career. I'm all about business analysis for sure. And today, being October 1st, well, second week, but the first Monday in October, we have our Global BA Stand-Up every first Monday of the month. So this is the first time joining. Sign up and join us every single time because it's always fun. So last month when we last met, we talked a lot about September being a great month for hiring. We talked about some of the trends. And I will say that now that we're in October, I think there's been a lot of uptick in just the job market and people being able to at least get callbacks, right? So some people got interviews, not everybody obviously, but a lot of people got some traction in the month of September. People came back from holidays for the summer, and they're now looking at their portfolios and looking at how much people they need to finish whatever commitment they made for the year. So I think that has contributed to the number of activity that I saw on LinkedIn, at least in terms of BA jobs. So if you're new to the role, let me just talk to you for a minute. If you're new and you're like, oh, what is this business analyst thing? Like, it sounds cool, but I don't know if this is for me. I'm going to give you some tips about what it is that you should be thinking about as you embark on your career. And for some of you, you're pivoting. Some of you have been doing other things. Some of you are just leaving college and you're like lost and trying to figure it out. Well, you found the right person. I definitely can help you with some of that. It's definitely not a career for everybody. So even though I think that we have great, we have people who will do great in the role, but it's not for everybody, right? There's some characteristics that you have that will make you much better at being a BA. So let's talk about that. So the first thing I want to say is there is some trends in the BA role that I want to dive into, and that includes right now there is a lot of push towards data analysis and reporting and data, right, in general. Does that mean that you need to run off and do another course in data analysis and get lost in SQL queries and all that stuff? Not necessarily. It's sometimes enough to know how to pull a where clause together in a SQL query and just be able to function, but you don't have to really pivot your career because it's two separate careers, right? There's data analyst and then there's business analyst. So If you really want to be a BA, you don't have to master data analysis. But if you want to be in data analysis, then fine, go do that. But sometimes the roles get blended, but it's usually enough to just have a peripheral knowledge of it. Because you typically have back-end developers and database administrators that is what they do. So they can provide the information for you for the reports you want to create. So in general, it's good to know, but you don't have to be chasing that down if you want to be a BA. The next thing I want to talk about is in terms of trend, obviously AI, right? Everything is AI, 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 AI. Everywhere you go to AI. Every day there's a new tool that I get informed about. Oh, you can use Nano Banana to do images. You can use this other tool to do videos. And you can use this tool for data analysis. You can use this tool to draw diagrams. So it's getting smarter, and there definitely is a push for us as BAs to be aware of the world of AI. Does that mean that they're coming to take your job tomorrow? No. Does it mean that you're going to have to go do a lot more courses to keep up? Maybe a little bit. So the way that they want you right now, I mean, this could change very quickly, but right now, what they want from you is the ability um, to work with AI in terms of requirements. You're not necessarily building the models, but they want you to be able to write the requirements for those models to be built. So they want you to have some understanding of how it works so you can have the conversations with the engineers. They want you to be able to assess the outputs to help with the test cases that you have to write for the UAT for these types of systems, and to just be able to document the requirements and the specifications better. That's literally what it is right now. Again, this is moving fast. We don't know where this thing is going to take us. So we're just going to keep up, and we're going to try to make sure that we are ready. Other thing I've noticed in terms of trends with business analysis is that they want you to be flexible in your methodology. So no longer can you just say, okay, I know how to write BRD. I'm very good at waterfall. I can collaborate. I can do all this stuff. They want you to be like fluid, like flexible. They want you to be able to work in both. They want you to have very strong knowledge of how to run a project as a BA, not as a project manager, but like in terms of requirements. They want you to be very, very solid in working in both waterfall and in agile. And this comes up in the interviews a lot. They ask you which one of these methodologies do you prefer, and the answer to that will always be whichever one you work in, right? I'm very good. I'm very versed in either one. So that's what we'll do. The other thing I noticed at Skills is they really want to emphasize domain knowledge these days. Domain knowledge, domain knowledge, domain knowledge. And it's unfortunate because as BAs, we can work in any industry. But as you go through the job hunt, you're going to find the recruiters saying to you, do you have domain knowledge in finance? Have you worked in energy? Have you worked in insurance? Have you worked in... So they keep trying to put you in a box to say this is what you should know to get the job. And it's unfortunate because you don't need to be an expert in one particular domain to be able to work in that domain. You're an expert in business analysis. You're an expert in how to elicit requirements. You're an expert in how to document requirements, regardless of which industry those requirements are for. But right now, there's a lot of that going on where they're just very, very strict on domain. And so if you already worked in some of these domains, like even if you work as a teller, you can say, yes, I have experience in banking because you were working in the industry. If you worked with insurance, yeah, I've worked in insurance, you can claim it. But it doesn't mean that you've been a BA in that industry. It's just to get through the interview process, because I find it unfortunate and I don't like when they do that, but it's very, very common. I see that as a big trend. I also see a big push in public sector jobs, at least not necessarily in the US, because the US is doing a whole bunch of stuff right now. But in the UK in particular, I see a lot of jobs coming up for people. I don't know if anybody here is in the UK, and we're going to do roll call in a minute for where you guys are from in a second. But I see for people who are in the UK, there's a lot of government programs and projects that they're hiring BAs for. And I was like, wow, I did a consultation, 2 consultations this week where one person was going up for a UK job and they wanted them to work in immigration. They wanted to really AI stuff to be able to identify your face and all this stuff. And somebody else was going up for one that's like single sign-on and being able to have one platform for everybody, for the government to be able to log into. So government projects are alive and kicking in the UK. There is some in the US, but there's a lot of turmoil right now. So at least in the UK, I've seen a lot of growth in public sector jobs, which is kind of good because public sector, there's mostly less volatility. You hardly get laid off and things like that, but it could still happen. So most people are more comfortable with civil service and public sector jobs. The other thing I see is there is strong reliance on soft skills as a BA. They want to know you have good communication, you can collaborate well, you just look like you can fit with the team better. So, soft skills is a big thing. So, I would encourage you guys to play that up in your interviews. Obviously, you're going to show up and present well and you're going to speak well, but they want to know that you have the interpersonal soft skills. It's hard to demonstrate that in an interview, to be honest with you, but you have to try your best, right? Because that's a big, valuable thing that they want. So if you want to become a BA, what do you do? These are the things that you're going to be expected to do in terms of performance in the job. But I would say in terms of tasks, then you're going to learn how to learn the core skills of BA, right? How to elicit requirements, analyze models, collaborate, write user stories, write BRDs, support the testing effort, writing test cases, UAT, facilitate all the refinements, all that stuff. That's what the BA job in general encompasses. So learn those skills. Then you need to learn the tools. You're not going to just use Word all the time or Excel. I mean, Excel is great, but tools like Jira, Azure DevOps, whatever data tools that your company has, whether it's Tableau, Power BI, whatever. So try to get exposed to those tools. And a lot of them you can get free right now. You can practice with. And again, you guys know I have the back office club where the tools are a part of the membership. So you get to use them in a real world context. So there's that. Practice how to work in these methodologies. How do you work in Agile? How do you work with an Agile team? It's difficult to practice by yourself, right? But you have videos on YouTube, you have articles like on karaleise.com, and you have our program if you want to join. We do things in an Agile way. But learn how to work in an Agile environment and learn how to do all of the ceremonies. Even though you're not going to be a Scrum Master, but you're going to work alongside them, and this will come up in your interview. So you need to be dominant of that. Domain knowledge. It's difficult to really get domain knowledge without working in the field, but if you've been exposed in that field for any other type of job, customer service or whatever, try to see how much more of that domain you can get knowledge about since you're already in there, so that you can use that as a leverage point also in your interviews. Learn to model. People shy away from designing process flow diagrams. There are so many case studies that you can use to practice. I have a few on my website. There's a lot on the backofficeclub.org website, but you need to practice how to design workflow diagrams, swim lanes, so that you can talk about them because you've done it. And then continuous learning, right? So keep working on the things that you know you need to work on, and don't be frustrated if you're applying and you're not getting any answers right away. It will happen, but you're going to have to keep the momentum and keep learning so that you can actually sound more like a BA as you're talking to your potential employers, and actually do the job that a BA would do if you get the job. All right, so that's my little preamble about how to start your career as a BA. Thank you again for waiting. I see a lot of familiar faces here. Thanks for being here, Debbie. I see you. Welcome, welcome, welcome. We have Brian. We have a few other people in the chat. Cherichi Dami. Devon is here. Erika is here. Labo is here. Abiora. Oh, Abiora is here. Thank you for joining. All right, so now I'm going to open it up for questions. Does anybody have any questions either about starting your career, growing your career, any interviews that you've done that you want to share? Do you have any other questions for me? Today's going to be kind of a short global base stand-up because we have to end exactly at 1 for yet another meeting I have to go to. Today's a very, very busy day for me. So I want to make sure we use the time wisely. So, all right, Debbie, you have your hand up. Go right ahead. Oh, nice. So you got in the perfect range, right? Awesome. Awesome. Mhm. welcome. We'd love to have you for sure. That would be great. And thank you for doing the fit test. In terms of your career path so far, like I'm going to get to the fit test and the back office stuff in a minute, but yes, one of the main challenges that we'll have if you have never had a title of a BA is not having that on your resume for people to say, okay, well, you did accounting, but now you've pivoted into BA. And unfortunately, if you leave it at just accounting, they will always see you just as an accountant, and they won't find anything on your resume that matches the BA. And so the application tracking system, the ATS, will kind of overlook your resume when it's recommending people. Unfortunately, I think it's so bad because now we live in a world where everything is so automated that we miss out on even good people because they don't have a word on their resume. So I don't propose that you create a fake resume with a whole bunch of stuff that you've never done, but I do propose that you have to tweak the resume to add business analysis friendly things in there so that it can actually match on some of the things. So if you've written reports before, you have to write those in a BA friendly way. So, design reports that would help with the financial um, posture or financial reporting of such and such a company, wrote requirements around, what it might still be related to accounting, but it has words like requirements, like documentations, like collaborating with stakeholders, like, discussing or refining, facilitating meetings, so on and so forth. So you kind of have to have it somewhere on there, unfortunately, because it's just not going to match and they're not going to see you as a BA unless it's somebody who knows you and knows that you're capable of doing it. But if you're looking at just the systems, looking at your resume, it's probably not going to recommend your resume, which is really unfortunate. But we have to keep the resume to have a title that is closer to the BA, maybe business accounting analyst or something like that, that's really related, and then tweak some of the bullet points to add in, not to say you have, not to lie completely because you've done this, but to reword it so it's more BA friendly. That's what I would recommend. There you go. Ah, mhm. There you go. And using Jira is also a very good thing because it adds to your knowledge of the tools. So I think that's pretty good. Yeah. So there we go. I'm going to share this on the live, but I don't know if it will share. I may have to share it again for you guys. So I was just going to show the fit test that you're talking about. So that's something that we have available for free. Anybody can go take this fit test, and we're analyzing you on the fit model that I came up with. And this was influenced a lot by what the IRBA has, but mine is just, I feel like it's more rooted in real world projects. So as a BA, you need to understand the why. You need to communicate and translate ideas, and to interact with new people, like the skills of doing that. You need to be able to react well to change. You have to work with ambiguity or in ambiguity too. And you have to pay attention to details. You have to be willing to document and explore and be curious. So those are the things that are covered in the fit test. And based on your score, if you're kind of more on this side, you'll realize this is a fit. If you're more on this other side, the right side, that is my right side, it's a good fit. And the closer you get to being covering all of these, it's more closer to being a perfect fit. So you guys can go in here and the answers are there. You can choose the answers and then it takes you to screen by screen. At the end of it, you get a score and it tells you what are the suggestions based on that score. So you can always check that out on the fit test, and I'll share it with the people in the chat because I don't think you guys are seeing that. So this is the fit test that we're talking about. So yeah, it's just a model that we came up with to help you to see what are all the areas that you should be dominating as a business analyst. And the closer, like you can see, this is like a perfect circle. The closer you get to dominate all of these areas, the closer fit you'll have to being a good BA. So if you have some time, go and check this out. It's free. Don't charge you for anything. We give you the answer at the end so you can go through all of the steps and do your fit test as well. All right. Other thing you mentioned Debbie was joining the Back Office Club, which I highly recommend it. So the Back Office Club is our membership program, and let me share with you a little bit. I have to share it in two times because I'm not sharing the meeting on the live. So just bear with me for a second. So the Back Office Club is our continuous learning program, right? So we're helping you to grow as a BA, but we're helping you grow deliberately with the projects. So we don't want you to just learn and then go to the interview and hopefully it works out. We want you to practice so that when you actually show up to the interview, it will work out because you've done this before. You're not alone in your journey. You're meeting with other people who are similarly trying to start their career. And if you already have a job, it's also good because we work on things to do improving how you perform in the job you already have. So as a member, you can come to our member center, for example, and these are all the tools that you will get if you are a professional member. You get access to our community, which we use Slack. You have access to our Figma design files, so you can work from designs and figure out how to break down user stories from designs. We use Jira. We use Confluence for documentation. We use Azure DevOps as well. And you get access to some other things like our Gmail. And we have a LANBA program. LANBA stands for Land a New BA Job by the end of the year. So we have tasks that the members are doing to work towards getting to land a job if you're in the job hunt, right? So some people are in the job hunt, some people already have a job. So regardless of which one you're in, it will be helpful. I wanted to call out our projects. So at the Back Office Club, like we said, we're not just helping you grow and teaching you, but we're also having you work on real world projects. So under our projects page, we have all the projects that we've been completing, and some of these have taken months to go through because it's so in depth, right? But right now we've worked on an app, a mobile app. We've worked on a process improvement project, and right now we're working on a retail banking project. It's very, very intricate and helps you to think about the complexities that you'd encounter if you're working on a banking project. Now, not everybody's going to be working in finance. I agree with that. But by you going through this project, you're going to be exposed to the complexities that you can then use in any other project, right? So this is a write-up of the project that we're working on right now at the Back Office Club, where you're working on payments. We're working on how to work with core banking systems and digital banking systems because I have a lot of experience in that. So we get down to the scope, what's in scope, what's out of scope. So we really spend a lot of time diving into real world complexities. It's not, surface level stuff that you can just say, yeah, I know it. No, you're actually going to have to learn and you're actually going to have to do the stuff. So you can come on our website and check out the projects that we're working on at the Back Office Club to see what we're doing. And if that entices you and excites you, then you can consider joining. We share it for you guys who are on the chat with me. But yeah, this is how we help you to be ready for the real world. It's not just about getting the information, getting certified, showing up for the interview. You have to understand how to work. You need a practice. You need the actual job to help you understand. You don't have to have the job, but you feel like you're working in the job because you're working on the actual projects that would be more typical in this role. So you guys can see my screen on the meeting. This is where we go to projects, and you can see all the projects that we worked on in the past and the current one we're working on right now, which is this one on retail banking. So yeah, very, very complex, has a lot of moving parts, but it's going to stretch your brain. It's going to help you to be exposed to real problems. You're going to learn new terms. You're going to learn to speak like a BA. You're going to learn to work with things like APIs, work with, digital banking platform in the sense of how they work, but you don't actually have access to it. And you're going to work with how to discuss these kind of more complex requirements with a team. You're going to work on how do you break down a complex project into minute, small chunks of user stories. So it's really going to be very helpful for you to think and for you to really grow as a BA using a complex project like this. So what we do at the Back Office Club is not just teach, not just have a community, but actually have you working hands-on on a project. But our community is also good. We have a chat, you can ask a question, you can help you with any questions that you have, you can practice for the interview with us. On Thursdays in particular, we call it our job seeker stand up. And when you join on a Thursday, we work through things like questions that you'll be asked in the interview, so you can practice how to answer those questions. And because you're practicing in a kind of a safe space with other members, you can make a mistake and we can correct you, and you can tidy up and clean up your story, so that on the day of the interview, you would have heard some of these questions already and you have them in your back pocket. So like, okay, I know how to answer this. And so hopefully you'll be better able to excel in the interview. So that's kind of a little backdrop of what we do at the back office. So, all right. Any other questions? Let's see. Debbie, you still had your hand up or? No? Okay. Anybody else have any other questions for me in terms of your career, joining, BA role, anything you've noticed in the market? Let's see. See if we have anything in the chat. By the way, where are you guys joining from? I didn't get a chance to do that. Put in the chat where you guys are joining from. I know we normally have a lot of people from different parts of the world. So go right ahead. I see some familiar faces already. So I know we have Canada at least. We have Orlando. Yeah. We have Chicago. Let's see. All right. Joining from Zimbabwe. Wow. London, Texas. Yeah. Welcome. And some of these some of these people are members of our back office club. So that's great that you guys are here. Thank you for joining. Awesome. Chicago, Devon. Yes. Very, very good. All right. Well, let me know if you have any questions, anything that you want to talk about, anything you want to ask about. I'm here for the next up to 1 o'clock my time, Eastern Standard Time. So let me know. Let me see if there's anything going on in the live chat. Okay. Somebody says, first time with you, you are the best. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Nice. This other one says, thanks for always answering my YouTube questions. Guys, when you leave a comment on the YouTube, I get it. And I'm like, okay, I got to go answer. And I try to give you the answer right there without, sending you to different links or so on. I might put a link or two there, but I want to get the answer so that anybody else who comes to the YouTube video might have the same question and get the same answer as well. All right, we have UK again, New York, Connecticut, South Africa. Wow, it's probably late in South Africa. Thank you for joining. Let's see. Okay, Nevada. Okay, good. Well, thank you all for you guys on the live. I appreciate that. So let's see. Anybody else have any questions? I think somebody raised their hand. If you raise your hand, just go ahead and talk. I'm not seeing the screen right now, but go right ahead. Yeah, it's whatever you sign up, it's 1 month from them. So we have 3 tiers at the back office club, and let me share that in a second. Sorry guys, I have to share it twice because I'm not the best at live with these tools. As much as I'm a technology person, I'm just not I'm not live with all the tools. Okay, so this is the pricing right now for the membership, and when you join, you have 3 essential tiers. You have basic, essential, and professional. And if you join professional, you get basically everything, which includes the tools and all the trainings and the stand-ups and documentation and the community, all that stuff. So you can go to backofficeclub/pricing and get all the answers to your questions there. And for what you just asked, yes, it is a monthly subscription, regardless of which tier you have. And it'll start from the month when you join. So it's not like prorated or anything. It's just whenever you join, then it will automatically renew for 1 month from then. So one of the things I like about the back office club, and I created it, so maybe I'm biased towards that. But one of the things I like is that we not only provide you with, these are the tiers, by the way, we not only provide you with the training, and you're getting live conversation with me. So whenever you come to our stand-ups, it's going to be live. You're not watching a recording, or it's not an online video online recording all the time. It's actually live, and the meeting is including other members who also have questions as well. But we also provide tools which are our tools like Jira and Azure and Figma. These are tools of the trade. But you also have a website to go find stuff out, right? A lot of these programs, they don't provide the support of a website. So it kind of, you have to go through WhatsApp or some other mechanism. But with us, you have a lot of online access to things. So if you want to remember, how do I get to my tools, you can go to your member center, and you can from here get access to all of the different sections, all the different tools that we have, and find more about what it is that we offer, right? So I like the fact that you have support in different ways. You have member support from the community, you have my support if you come to the live sessions directly, you have a website, and so you you're not lost. You know, you should be able to really find your way. Let me refresh this for a second so that you can, at any time you wake up in the middle of the night, you can go, oh, I need to find this stuff. Here it is. And you can find it. You don't have to wait for us to meet to answer a question necessarily, right? So I think that's a great added value that you don't get in other places. So I actually like that. I like having online resources to complement my course. And I don't want to go through Facebook. I don't want to have a WhatsApp group all the time. I want to see it on the website, and I want to be able to ask a question on the Slack, and somebody's up at that time, they can answer. If I'm not up, when I get up, I look at it, I can give an answer. So I like that accessibility, and I like that multiple channels to get things done. So I think that's a great thing that you guys should hopefully will find valuable too. Okay. Let's see. Can you guys make sure you guys can still hear me? Because I thought I saw frozen just now. You can hear me? Okay, good. All right. Anybody else have any other questions that you want to ask? Even in the live, you can put your questions in the chat. If you have anything to ask in there. So here's a question from Ishmael. I'm going to show you a question, Ishmael. So this person says, how can you navigate a difficult project manager who complain about a user story not being customer-centric enough in a third-party application project? Oh my goodness. When you're working with, I have a video about difficult stakeholders, and difficult stakeholders can take different forms. A stakeholder could be the customer, the client, but it could also be internal stakeholders, the people you're actually working with, which is like, oh my goodness. If you're working with a bad project manager, that's not good. It can make your life hell. I know, I've had some. But luckily, in the current role I have awesome, wonderful people. I mean, I could not have asked for a better team. I'm not just saying that. It's really the best team I have worked with, and I'm so blessed. I'm so happy, and I'm so blessed. But yeah, if you're working with a difficult project manager, and their complaint is that the user story is not customer centric enough, and it's a third party application, we have to break that down. So when they say it's not customer centric enough, you'd have to give me more about what that means to you or to the project manager. Maybe what they're trying to communicate is that, the user story is intended to be for the user. You're not just building things to build things. You're not building backend systems to make backend systems happy. You're building it so that you can actually, at the end of the day, have something that can be shown, can be tested, that actually helps the business move forward. So if there is a concern that what you guys are building is not focused on the customer, then that's definitely a big red flag that you have to address. And maybe it's how you've written the user story. Maybe it doesn't read that way. Maybe what you're building doesn't actually help the end customer, which is what the project manager wants to see. And sometimes the project manager doesn't see the full picture, because you might have to break the user story up into smaller chunks. So one piece handles a back-end task, one piece handles a front-end task, which is eventually what the customer will see, but they don't see that connection because maybe you haven't linked them properly, or you haven't communicated, you haven't refined it well with the team. So I would not take too much, I wouldn't take it personally, first of all. You're not really criticizing you personally. It's just that you have to make sure the user stories serve the purpose of being useful or beneficial to the user. Now, if it's a third-party application, it means that you probably cannot change everything because you don't have access to the source code, probably, right? So you only have to change with whatever is within reach, with what's exposed to you to work with. So maybe it might mean that you discuss with whoever is your account manager for that third-party system, or maybe there's a user manual that you can see what are the options that you can make changes to, or if there's a configuration or switches that you can turn on and off. So I would say it'll be a collaborative effort between yourself and the third party application project manager or some support person that's available to you to clarify your questions. And then you go to the project manager and say, okay, because it's a third party, these are the only things I have control over, and these are the things that I've written in that user story. If we want to do something completely different that the third party doesn't offer, we'll have to do a customization, and we'll have to write user story for that. And that obviously would have to go back to the project manager. So I think communication is the best thing here. Communicate through it. Don't take it personally, right? And try to make sure that your user stories are helping the end user, and that you can communicate that to the project manager that this is how it helps the end user, so she doesn't feel like it's just stories to write stories, right? So if you want to provide some more details on that, Ishmael, you can, but in my opinion, that's probably the best course of action to communicate through this. All right. Okay. Elizabeth says, talk about challenging PMs. Yeah, right? PMs can definitely be challenging. And POs too can be challenging. POs can be challenging too. Okay. Did somebody raise their hand? I heard no? Okay. No hands over there. All right. There's questions in the chat? Oh, thank you. Appreciate that. All right, so we have a question that says, I've been working as a business analyst in the telecommunications sector in Zimbabwe for the past 2 years, primarily supporting the commercial team. I come from a finance background and really enjoy the BA role because of the diverse challenges it presents and the problem-solving opportunities it offers. My question is, how can I transition into international markets, and what advice would you give regarding career progression from a business analyst role? Okay, so let's start with the first part, which is the international markets. In other words, you want to work as a BA in a different country. There might be paths to that, but right now, at least for the US, those paths are quickly drying up, unfortunately. So in the US right now, there are lots of politics and things going on, which I don't want to get into, but there's a push to have companies in the US hire people who are already here, as opposed to hiring people from a different country. And there's like fines that they want to start implementing. So if you hire somebody outside the US, you have to pay a bigger fine with the H-1B visas to get them here to work, and so on and so forth. So there's a lot of confusion right now in the US in terms of working from outside the country. However, if there is a company that is willing to sponsor you, then that's one route. I just find that to be almost extraordinary. It's very hard to get them to do that, especially for BAs. I find them doing that for doctors, for engineers. They're doing it a lot for, if you have a very unique specialization and you're like number one, they'll just, okay, we'll sponsor you. But for the BA role, I haven't seen a lot of it, just to be frank. I haven't seen a lot of sponsorship. I see more sponsorship for developers, like front end, back end, iOS, mobile, AI. Those developers are getting sponsored much faster than the BA is. They'd rather have a BA locally and the developer international than the other way around. So that's just the reality of what's going on. In other countries, I'm not sure how much, because they said international, so I'm not sure which other country you're looking into. I know that countries like Canada, they often have a quota of how much professionals that they want to get into the country. And it's usually an easier route to get to Canada and work in a professional setting than the US. That's just my personal opinion. I don't have any stats on this. It's just something I've noticed. So you can look into that. The UK also has some opportunities around migrating, but again, it's a whole it's an effort, right? So it's not just the job, but having the place to live and the financing and all that stuff. So you'll have to make sure that you really think through all of that to be able to function. So unfortunately, I don't have any links or any sites that I know that can help with this. If anybody on the call knows that, you can always put it in the chat. You can help out this person who wants to work internationally. So those are just my commentary on that. Now, in terms of career progression as a BA, it depends on how, like what makes you happy, right? So typically you're a BA, so there are different tiers of BA. You have junior BA, which not a lot of jobs have. Then you just have BA. And you have senior BA. You have principal BA. You have lead BA. You have VP of business analysis, and you can go up to maybe some C level executive suite, right? Or sometimes people pivot from being a BA to go into project management, and then they become senior project manager, and so on and so forth. So the two tiers are um, kind of in sync. So you can just go from BA, senior BA, principal BA, lead BA, VP of business analysis, and that's typically the progression. But I want to tell you that the higher up you go, let's say between senior BA and principal BA, there are some differences. Sometimes you have more people to manage as you get up. So you now have people that report to you and you have to manage their vacations and all of the, HR kind of stuff when you manage people. And then sometimes you end up not doing BA work. You end up just managing the people and having meetings where you talk about the work that's being done by other people, right? So if that's okay with you and that floats your boat, then that's a progression you can get into. Some people, some of us like to actually do the job as a BA. They like to be closer to the details and be able to help see the change as opposed to just joining meetings and talking about stuff and kind of having to be at this layer, not really down here, so that you're not able to really make an impact. You're just reporting up to somebody as what's being done. So it depends. So obviously, the higher you go, the more money you make. But I would caution that it's not just the money. Sometimes, are you happy doing that? Are you happy, kind of just in meetings all the time and talking about budget and talking about, clients, and then you're really not seeing the impact of what you do, and you have to rely on people below you to tell you what's really going on. So that's the kind of trajectory you can look into. So I think the higher up you go, the more money you make, obviously, and you could be happy doing that as well. So there is definitely a linear progression to being a BA. But even if you start out at just a BA, in most of the first world countries like Canada, the US, the UK, the salary is pretty good. So you can start at a BA and a senior BA and still make a lot of money to be comfortable and be happy. So you can choose if you want to keep going up the ladder. And obviously, the further up you go, obviously, the more money you make. So just hopefully that helped answer your question on the progression of your career. All right. Thank you so much, Brian, for sharing that. And thank you for being here from Zimbabwe. I know it's probably late for you guys right now, but thank you for being here. I appreciate that. Okay. Yeah. So we're kind of at the end. Let me know if anybody else have any other questions before we wrap up today. Let's see. Elizabeth said, talk about challenging PMs. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, guys, thank you so much for being here today. It's going to be a short one, like I said, because there's just a lot going on. But we are coming, we're 2 months away from the end of the year. Can you believe it? Like I thought that we just we just started January, and then the year is just like flying by. It's like crazy. There's so much going on. It's so fast you can't keep up with it all. But I want you to stay encouraged, right, and to keep trying. We have our Landba, which is land a new BA job by the end of the year. You can download the Landba for free. A lot of stuff that I give is for free. So when I ask you to pay for something, you should pay for it because I give you lots of free stuff. Both on my karaleise.com website, which has all my articles about business analysis, case studies, and other things, fit tests that Debbie did. And then on the back office club is for the membership, right? So membership and courses is on the back office club. Free articles, free courses, free case studies, free fit tests is on karaleise.com. So that's how it breaks up, a breakdown of it. So I think somebody added a comment here. Let's see. Even if you miss September, is December and January still good for hire? Annie, I think anytime is good for hiring, right? If you miss September, you know what? You can make it in November. You can make it October, then November, then December. So it's still good. Any time of year is good for you to get hired and get a new job and get more money. It's always good. Yes. So the thing about December is because a lot of people go off in the corporate world for Christmas holidays, they're not really as motivated to hire in December, and it's the end of the year too, right? So anytime around mid-November, it starts to get much harder. And when you get to Thanksgiving, and then you get to Christmas, it's almost like a wrap. But don't give up hope, because I got my first job, and I started my first job December 15th, because I said, Lord, you got to give me this job by the end of the year. I need to get this job, Jesus. And the year was coming to an end. I'm like, listen, what did we talk about? Didn't we pray about this thing? And lo and behold, I got the offer, and I started December 15th. I walked into the office. We're all going to the office at the time. And almost nobody was there. There's only one guy. So in my head, I said, why didn't they just let me start in January? Like, it didn't make any sense. But I was like, oh, yeah, God has to prove his point. So I got my job December 15th. All right. So it's never too late. You can still make it happen. What see? Exactly. Yes, it can still happen. That's good. Because sometimes they want to lock you in before the year starts. Because they know when the year starts, it's going to be busy, and you're going to have to deal with all kinds of stuff. In your case, with accounting, you have all these deadlines to meet. So they still hire you just to make sure that you're there. In my case, nobody was there for 2 weeks. I still went into the office, and there was like one guy. And I was like, "Why aren't you here?" Like, oh, I'm Jewish. I don't do Christmas. I was like, "Okay." And we hang out. We had fun. He showed me around. He showed me how to do everything. But nobody was there for 2 weeks in my first job, so it's pretty wild. All right. So Elizabeth says, "I believe ESP for new BAs to add value. You need to focus first, understand the business problem, let me put it on the screen, understand the business problem and not so much on the solution." That's true. So if you are a BA and you get your first project and you're like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And you're like freaking out, don't freak out. The first thing is to get grounded in the problem. What are you solving? Because most of the time they tell you a solution. Okay, we're going to implement this solution. We're going to buy this ERP system. We're going to do all this stuff, right? But why? What's the problem that you're really solving? And it's not the problem of the implementation, but what does implementation solve? And so you get into asking more questions, like the 5 whys, why, until you get to the answers, right? And by doing that, you really get a better understanding of the problem. And once you get down into the problem, then all the solutions start to either make sense or not make sense. And then you can give better feedback. Then you can write better requirements. Then you can have better meetings, and you can talk better to your stakeholders. So the whole thing is predicated on you understanding the problem, which a lot of people don't get into too hard or too deep, because they know that the project was given to them. Like, it's already on my desk. This is my job. I just have to do it. Yes, you have to do it, but sometimes nobody else is thinking the way you are supposed to be thinking. Everybody's like, here's the project, somebody funded it, let's work on it. But what is the problem it is solving? Why are you doing what you're doing? And how is this going to impact the people who are going to use it at the end of the day? Because most of these projects put people together to get the project accomplished, and then when the project ends, they disband and they're gone. And the people who are it's meant for are like, what did you do? Like, why did you do all this stuff? So you really have to get down to the root of the problem, and that is what's going to differentiate you from being an excellent BA to just being an average BA. So that's for sure. So good point here, Elizabeth. Thank you for sharing that. All right, so we have come to the end of our meeting. I have to drop for another meeting, but I always love hanging out with you guys here at the Global BA Stand Up. Thank you all for joining, both on the live and on the Google Meet. Thank you for the wonderful questions and for putting them in the chat. And go check out karaleise.com if you want to get some, do the fit test to see if you're fit for the business analyst role. And also go check out the Back Office Club for what we have going on with our projects. Go and download the free Landba guide for how to land a new BA job at the end of the year. You do that by going to www.backofficeclub.org, and you can just put in your information. It will send you the free Landba guide to help you know the steps to take to land your job by the end of the year. All right. So thank you, everybody. And this was great. Hope to see you next month in our next Global BA Standard. Take care. Bye bye. And bye to you guys.